Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Happy New Year. It is a cold and snowy January day here in Ontario. So I figured I would just make myself a cup of hot chocolate and talk to you guys a little bit about some of the writing I've been doing and just, we'll just chat, just hang out today. I think I'm probably going to do a very casual sit down video. Right now I'm not sure where I want to write. I've been set up in Dan's office for a little while, and I'll show you why. It's a very cozy little room, so it's good for just hanging out on a cold day like this. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about some of the books that I got for Christmas, and some of the books I'm planning to read this year. So, as I said, today's going to be very casual, very, it's just a snowy day. I don't really want to go too crazy on any sort of major production here, but, I want to check in, make a video, say hi, how's it going? I hope your holidays were great, whatever you celebrated, if you celebrated anything at all. So let's head over into Dan's room and I'll give you a little tour and show you my setup, my current setup, which of course is very different from my office, but hey, you know what, sometimes change is good, right? So as you can tell, this is definitely a man's space. You have lots of screens and computer monitors and boy toys and God knows what else in here. But we do have this couch, and this couch is very, very comfortable, and as you can tell, I have my laptop set up here with my outrageously long charging cord. I mean, of course, it doesn't have to be that long, but I just keep both components of the charging cord together so I don't lose them. The little table here, and, of course, my writing companion for the day. Where have you been? And she's been under the bed, although she often comes in here because it's nice and warm. Now, our apartment's a little bit older, so we do have a baseboard heater, which is pretty inefficient, and unfortunately, our heating bill can be quite high around this time of year, although I've been really trying to cut back on that by wearing a lot more sweaters and blankets and stuff like that. And speaking of warm, cozy sweaters, I've got my favorite writing sweater on, the one that says I make stuff up, which, I mean, I understand the whole point of making stuff up, it's sort of what I do, but it also kind of makes me sound like a liar, so I don't love it. But that's okay. I only wear it when I'm at home. And today, on a day when I think it's about minus 15 today, with a wind chill factor of like minus 20. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't been out there yet. Although I should probably go out there later and run my car for a few minutes, just because it's an older car. And unfortunately, because it is an older car, it doesn't run so well in the winter anymore, so sometimes when I'm home for a couple of days, like I have been this weekend, I will go out, scrape off the ice, run the engine so it warms up a little bit, just check on the tires and the tire pressure, that sort of thing. But of course, who wants to leave this warm, cozy office and go outside and deal with Canadian winters? I certainly don't, but it is what it is. So I'm gonna go get my hot chocolate. I'm gonna get my tripod as well. We're gonna set up here, and I'm just gonna get kind of organized with my writing, and then we'll chat a little bit about book 6 and what I've been working on, and what the plan is this year in terms of any sort of publishing goals, because as I've said a couple of times on Instagram, I am trying to be very sort of not secretive, I don't like to use that word, but I've really been trying to focus on writing the book for myself and not worrying so much about promoting it online or trying to get people interested in pre-ordering, because I'm not doing a pre-order this year. I'm just simply writing for the joy of writing, which is something I haven't felt in a while. So we'll get into that in a few minutes. Best seat in the house, right? Oh. Up there, usually some of the squirrels will come by and see if I've left any nuts or seeds or breadcrumbs or anything for them, but lately they haven't been out here because it's been so cold. But she still loves to come in here. And usually she sits right there on that armrest, and she stands up with her paws on the wall and watches the squirrels and the birds through the window. But since she can't do that right now, she's cuddling with me instead, and I have no complaints, because, like I said, she's a very good cuddle buddy. So, like I said, let me go get my stuff, we'll get set up, and then we'll continue. Okay, so let's chat a little bit about book 6. I do have a title. I even have a cover and a working tagline for that cover, but I've decided that I'm not going to reveal anything until I actually get the proof copy of the book in a few months, whenever it is that I happen to publish this book, because again, I'm not on a deadline. I'm not putting any sort of pressure on myself to finish it by a certain day, because when you're doing something for yourself, you can go as slow as you want. You can drag the process out, you can go back, you can fix things that you don't like. And for me, that has been a very refreshing change compared to what I was doing before, where I was trying to stick to a schedule and I was trying to crush those word count goals, and it was making me resentful because I felt like I wasn't a good enough writer to keep up with the goals that I had set for myself, or that other people were telling me I had to set in order to be a real writer, which, you know, that's all BS. Come on, if you write, you're a writer. That's really the simplest definition there is. But I have decided that for book 6, now, because I'm publishing through Amazon, it is going to be available and people can purchase it. So, of course, I'm trying to do a certain level of quality control so that if people do decide to buy it and read it, it's going to be polished, edited, formatted, the whole 9 yards. So for me, even though it is still for myself, I want it to be good enough that other people can also enjoy it if they choose to. But if I don't have a million sales of this book or any of my other books, that's fine too. I'm not putting any pressure on myself anymore to become this famous, well-known, well-read, best-selling author. The truth is, I don't have the time or really even the inclination anymore to really throw myself into any sort of hardcore, fast-paced marketing campaign. And that should be okay, because I feel like I was so consumed with promoting my author brand and seeing my work as a product that I stopped seeing myself as a person. And so with this particular book, because I've really changed my focus away from, you know, creating a product, this is part of a suite of products, as it were, to simply this is a work of art, it's like a therapy exercise for me, that sort of thing. Because I've changed my focus so much, I've been enjoying the writing so much more than I did for books 4 and 5. You may recall, looking back on some of my other videos, when I was talking about Faith Unbroken or Hearts Unbound, like my most recent books in the series, I made a lot of self-deprecating jokes like, haha, I hate this, but I'm gonna finish it anyway. And it wasn't until I decided to take a step back from that I realized that that wasn't a healthy attitude to have, and that I was really on the precipice of burnout, but I was so afraid to pull back and to go into a more obscure state online because I didn't want people to say, well, she's not serious about this, or she's not, you know, she's not worth following, she's not worth reading, because clearly she can't sort out her shit and figure out what kind of brand or what kind of aesthetic she wants to go with. So because I was so concerned that people would see me that way, I think I kind of screwed myself over a little bit, and now I know I'm paying the price for pulling back from social media, but I'm really glad I did it. I think having writing as a hobby instead of a career is a better fit for me. Although, like I said, if tomorrow I woke up and I suddenly had 1 million sales or 1 million page reads on Kindle Unlimited, I wouldn't necessarily be upset about it. I think I'd be very confused, but I wouldn't be upset. I would just be like, okay, well, that's the way it's gonna be, and I'll just sort of ride those waves as they come. But for now, for where I am in my personal life and in my professional life, I really just want to focus on having a hobby, on having something that I can do when I'm not working, something I can focus on that is completely different from thinking about bills or my career or just anything like that, anything that in the realm of adulthood and real life. This is just a completely separate space for me to inhabit on days when I'm stressed out and I need a break. Now, normally it takes me 1 year, on average, to write a first draft. So I started the first draft of book 6 in April of 2024. So basically, as soon as book 5 released, I was already starting to tinker with an outline for book 6. And I was like, okay, this is insane. I really should take a break, but I'm not that kind of person, unfortunately. So April, I started playing with some ideas. I knew, of course, that these ideas were not fully fleshed out, but that wasn't the point. The point was not to go into this story with a fully fleshed out, fully realized outline. It was just simply to see if there was any potential for the characters, the next generation of characters, I should say, to actually have their own spin-off story. I say spin-off, but it's really still in the same world on a slightly more advanced timeline. So April I started writing it. Summer it really started coming into fruition for me. And now here I am in January of 2025 and I'm about 67,000 words into the first draft. I've outlined right up until the very last chapter, I believe. And of course, you know, things could change in the last couple of chapters, so I'm just sort of going with the story, feeling it out. Not sticking too closely to any one particular idea or another in case a better one comes along. But that's where we're at. At this point, there's one scene in particular that I envisioned very early on in the writing process, and I thought, okay, I don't know if it's gonna fit. But I think I've built up to it enough that I can pull it off. So, you know, fingers crossed that this actually pans out the way I'm hoping it'll pan out. And after that, the first draft will be done. I will probably not take a super long break before diving into the second draft because I'm not great at taking a break from things, I've noticed. I think that might be to my own detriment, but we'll see. We'll see how draft 2 goes. And then I think because I've been rewriting and editing so much as I go along, I'm really hoping that I won't have to have 4, 5, 6 drafts like I have had in the past. But again, who's to say? Alright, so here we are in the first draft. Obviously, I've redacted the title, and you'll find out what that is in a few months. I always try to do things a little bit differently with each book in terms of just the way I tell the story. I will usually change the formatting a little bit, or I'll change sometimes the POVs. I haven't done a multiple POV with these particular books yet, although I may do that in the future. So I have been leaving, for instance, comments in the margin to myself, just things that I'm thinking I may want to change in the next draft. But I don't want to give too much of it away, so what we're going to do here, I don't like being on focus mode. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's not what I want to do. Sorry guys. Back up here. Okay. See, the problem is when you're in focus mode like I'm in right now, things are kind of inaccessible. But alright. Zoom out 10% here. Alright, so this is what we've got going on so far. This is the whole document up to my current chapter. I think I'm on chapter 21, and it's not totally finished. But I have been trying to just leave a few loose ends here and there while I wait for better ideas to come along. All these red pages you see here, these are places where I've already started the process of rewriting. So there's going to be some change up here at the very beginning. Obviously a lot of change down here at the end when I get to it, but for now, this is what it looks like. It's taken me, as I said, since last April to get to this point. And bear in mind that not everything I write actually makes it into a story. So even though there are quite a few words on this page, there are many, many, many more in a Word document from chapters that I purged and decided to save for another time. I'm going to do some writing for a little while. I think I might set my timer for half an hour or so. Of course, you guys don't have to actually sit here and watch me type for half an hour because that would be really boring. But I'm going to sit and write, try to get maybe, let's say 250 words done. I know for some people that seems like a very low word count goal to aim for in 30 minutes, but I'm slow, okay? Like I said, I'm slowing down. I'm being more deliberate about my creative process. So for me, it really is quality over quantity. So we'll see. Okay, so it's been 30 minutes and I have written 207 words. So that's just a few words shy of my goal of 250 words. Still pretty good for 30 minutes of work, I think. What made this particular chapter a little bit more challenging is because so many of the characters in this particular scene I have not met yet. I've only introduced one of them very briefly for about 5 minutes. So I'm sort of trying to set the scene. It's a brand new setting that I haven't explored yet. Plus I'm also trying to introduce those characters. Plus I'm also trying to sort of stick with the current theme of the story. and make sure everything weaves in together pretty naturally. So I was probably gonna do another 30 minutes, and if I can get 500 words written today, that will put me pretty close to my word count goal. Again, not that it's really about numbers, but you know, I do need some sort of goal post somewhere to aim for. So we'll keep going. I've got my headset here, which I don't know if you can see very well. Yeah, they're pretty bad. In pretty bad shape. A little worse to wear, but you know what? They're honestly the best headset I've ever owned. And right now, in case you're curious to know what I'm listening to, I'm listening to some sort of synthwave, dreamwave, like early 2000s techno vibe. I don't really know how to describe it. I'm not really a music person. I love music, but I don't know much about the mechanics or the technicalities of it. But yeah, it's good stuff. I don't know, it fits. The vibe fits with what I'm working on right now, strangely. So we're gonna reset that timer for another 30 minutes. We're gonna go again, and then at the end of that, I'll update you on my current word count, and then I will probably, sorry, I have to take these off. I just hear an echo of my voice now. I will probably head into the office for a little bit. I do want to show you guys the books that I got for Christmas, and also talk about some of the ones that I'm planning to buy later on in the year. And maybe we'll talk about some other stuff like, you know, Netflix shows we're watching, but I'm getting ahead of myself, and I'm also breaking my own concentration, so I will see you guys again in another 30 minutes. Okay, so after that 30-minute writing sprint, I now have 612 words. So obviously that's more than the 500 I was aiming for in this particular writing session today, so that's good. What's even better than that is I've sort of found my footing in the scene, so now I know which direction it's going to take, and I know the characters, or I'm starting to know the characters a little bit better. So I think I will probably take a small break from this for now. We'll go into the other room, into my office, and I will do a little bit of a, like a little book haul. I mean, not that I got so many books, but we'll talk about the books that I got and the ones that I am going to be receiving later on in the year. And then I think we will wrap up this video, guys, and I will go back to writing for a little while after this and doing whatever else I need to do on this particularly cold day. So let me save this, shut everything down, and I'll meet you over there. All right, back in my office. You know the space very well. We've done many videos here. So while I still have a little bit of battery left on my phone, because I didn't realize that I only have 33% battery power left, let's try to wrap this video up. I will show you two of the books that I got. Dan did pre-order me the next book in the Hunger Games series, which is Sunrise on the Reaping. It comes out in March of this year. If you know me at all, you know I'm a huge Hunger Games fan, and that might explain why I'm enjoying Squid Game so much. I did originally watch the show when it came out a few years ago, I think in like 2021 or 2022, something like that. And obviously, having reread the Hunger Games series many times, it's very apparent the parallels and the similarities between Squid Game and Hunger Games. In fact, I remember reading an article shortly after Squid Game sort of took Netflix and the internet by storm. Somebody sat down and they wrote a very comprehensive comparison between the two series, and their conclusion was basically that Squid Game is a Korean Hunger Games, and I can't disagree with that. Everything from the arena, located in a very remote, obscure area, to playing childish games and competing for your survival that way, to people having to repay debts, which obviously, if you know anything about the Hunger Games, all the districts were basically in debt to the capital because of the treason that had taken place. So yeah, if you have seen the movies for both franchises, I'm sure it has not escaped your notice that they are basically one and the same, and they're very much a cautionary tale of what happens when a debt is not repaid and when powers that be have too much power. So that's all I'm going to say on the subject. Let's get into this little book haul here. The first book that I received was, of course, another Jodi Picoult book called Lone Wolf. This one came out in 2012, so it is one of her older titles. I did originally read the excerpt of Lone Wolf on her website, and that's what compelled me to add it to my Amazon wishlist. I'm really enjoying it so far, although I can tell it's in a slightly different style than Mad Honey. Obviously, Mad Honey being the newer, more recent book, her writing style has evolved, as writers' style typically do over time, but this book is still really fantastic. I'm looking forward to seeing how it all shapes up, because it's already got quite a few twists and turns. And then, of course, because I can't get enough of her, I also received House Rules. I don't typically read hardcovers, or I should say I don't typically buy hardcovers when I'm actually out shopping for books myself, simply because they are more expensive, they have greater materials cost. But unfortunately, because this is an older one of her titles, I knew it would be a little bit harder to find a brand new copy of it. And in fact, when I went to Chapters back in, I want to say late August, early September, I think it was, that I did my fall book haul. They told me that that book had been pulled from circulation quite a number of years ago, but that I could still find it either in used bookstores or on Amazon, because obviously Amazon now is taking over the world, and not in a good way. Although I can't really be too hypocritical, because I do publish on Amazon and the process is a lot simpler than publishing with Lulu.com. But that is a whole nother can of worms that I won't get into today. But anyway, the thing I love about Jodi Picoult's style is because even though her books are predictable to the extent that there are common themes and motifs like family, the justice system, human rights and stuff like that, the writing itself and the stories themselves are not predictable, and they usually have very surprising outcomes. So I'm looking forward to reading this. I do have another book called Pearly Everlasting that I haven't read. I did finish The Entire Sky, and it was fantastic. Sorry, I don't know why I have the hiccups all of a sudden. So The Entire Sky by Jo Wilkins was wonderful. It was a much slower book than I am used to reading, and it was more, it didn't have like a big, complicated, overarching superhero type plot like so many books have nowadays. It was more about shining a light and focusing a microscope on family issues, especially in the context of the 1990s, where things were not talked about as freely as they are now. I also want to read 19 Minutes. Again, another Jodi Picoult book, but it's about a school shooting. And I tend to gravitate towards stories that have a message, a strong message, like whatever it is she's trying to say in each of her books. So I do have quite a few books on my to-be-read list, but also on my to-be-bought list. I do consider myself to be a book rereader, so sometimes it makes more sense for me to actually buy the book instead of renting it from the library. But I have nothing against libraries, of course. They're fantastic. If you've got a library card, good for you. I did for a long time have a library card, and I think it either expired or I lost it. So maybe in 2025 I will go and get another one. But that's not for today. That's for some future time. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any comments, don't forget to leave them down below. Leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. And I will catch you sometime in the future. I don't typically post videos on a schedule. It's more just when I feel like it. Although I'm really hoping this year in particular I can maybe build this channel up a little bit more, because I know I sort of slacked off a little bit in 2024, so I'm sorry about that for people who were hoping to see more videos, but we'll see. Like I said, I'm not putting too much pressure on myself. I'm really just trying to enjoy the process, the creative process. But anyway, guys, wherever you are, I hope you're staying warm and happy and safe, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye.